Hey guys, I want to talk a little bit about what I do because I believe that what I do is really, really unique. I'm not just a counselor, I'm not just a mental health therapist, those types of things. I refer to myself as a human performance specialist that has an emphasis in mental health development. And so basically what that means is that I'm not just talking about performance in the areas of fitness, let's say. I'm talking about performance in areas of relationships, how we're doing at work, how we're just doing in life overall. And so I kind of see myself as someone who specializes in helping other people figure out the barriers that are keeping them from living in the full potential of how they were created to live. And so I kind of step in and help someone figure out what are those barriers. How are we going to get around those barriers? What are some goals that we need to set so that we can track the progress? Because it's not just like you guys come into a room and we talk about things and then you walk out and it really has no effect on your life. It absolutely has an effect on your life. And over the course of several weeks and up to a couple months, we'll be able to track the changes that are kind of going on, whether that's in your relationships, whether they're distressed, whether it's a marital conflict. You're a parent perhaps and you have issues with your child's behavior, their performance issues in their sports, those types of things. So I'm very much of the persuasion that I don't deal with just this part of humans. I don't just deal with the heart of individuals. I deal with the whole person. And so I kind of talk about counseling, coaching, those types of things as kind of like the five pillars of health. Movement is a big one, and I'm not just talking about the likes of CrossFit or going to, Planet Fitness and those types of things, though those are great. But I'm just talking about how are we moving every single day, because that's going to really affect the ways in which our whole system works, whether we're dealing with depression, anxiety, trauma, those types of things. So movement's the first one. The next one's sleep. Sleep is so big, and oftentimes it's the most neglected, right alongside of the nutrition, which is the third pillar. But sleep and nutrition are really, really key. And so I'm not a nutritionist, and so I don't do meals, I don't count the macros, I don't do any of that. But I'm wanting to know, are you eating whole foods? Are you actually eating? Are you skipping meals? And if you're coming in with an eating disorder, then that's going to be hit on a little bit more in a different way than it might look for someone who's coming in for anxiety or those types of things. But there's certain foods, that can help with decreasing one's anxiety, just like it can with sleep and just like it can with movement. And so those three are really, really, really important. And then we have the spiritual part. And so I'm not so much a Christian counselor or a Buddhist therapist or anything like that, but just spirituality. Where are you at with that? If you're an atheist, great. Then let's bring that in. Let's talk about that, because again, we are whole beings. We're not just physical people. We're also spiritual beings, and that matters. And so our movement, our sleep, our nutrition, our spirituality, they all affect one another. They totally interplay with one another. And then we have the mental and emotional part, which is most often what people think that I only deal with as a human performance specialist, as a counselor, as a therapist, those types of things. But I really view health across all of those 5 domains. And so those are things that I take into consideration when I'm working with a client. We might touch upon one more than the other, or might touch upon 2 or 3 more so, or have more of an emphasis on those than other parts. But that's what I'm keeping in the back of my mind when I'm working with people. And so I always try to say I'm really integrative, I'm holistic. I know that what I do is super, super helpful, and I know what I do really well. But I also know what I don't do really well too. And so if there are things that I don't do, or don't specialize in, then I'm going to connect you with someone who does if you're wanting that. And so those are a little bit about who I am as a human performance specialist that kind of emphasizes in mental health development specifically, as well as my 5 pillars to health. And so in the coming weeks, I'm going to talk about different ways that you can work on decreasing your anxiety and increasing the quality of sleep, as well as the movement pieces and the nutrition, and those things. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure that you head over to oliviapeltz.com, that you like us at Human Will Perform on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. and that you, of course, subscribe here on the YouTube channel. So anyways, I hope you guys have a great one, and I'll see you next week.